the Emo Hour, your weekly power hour of all things emo and adjacent, with your hosts, Katie and Nani.
Hello and welcome to the Emo Hour. This is your host, Nani, and my good friend, Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Is today the last day that you can say Happy New Year to a person? Or what is your personal belief on how long you can continue telling somebody Happy New Year? Because I saw an Instagram post today that was like, today's the last day you can do it.
That's so funny. That's like exactly what I was going to go into and ask if you've ever seen that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David takes a hard stance that you can't say it past like 3 days after the new year. Because somebody said it to him like 3 weeks into the new year and he's like, come on. But I don't even know if you've ever watched Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I haven't.
Okay.
You're outing me. You're outing me.
Oh, it's so good. I think we're a week-ish. Yeah, like it's starting to feel like probably shouldn't say it anymore. How about you?
That's fair. So I love saying Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. I love saying Feliz Año Nuevo.
You do.
You know that too. But I would say we're nearing probably the end of it. I feel like the 10th, maybe the 10th, 11th, 12th, that's when it's too late. We're still just like about a week in. So
we are.
I don't know. I'm going to give myself a little bit more grace because when you say Happy New Year to someone, I think it's only well-intentioned and it's only pleasantries.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. I give it a week. 10 days, I think, is fine. It's on the longer end of things. But that Larry David or the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where he's in the gym and some woman says it to him like 3 weeks in and he's like, stop it. No. And that show is just, it's the best, but it's also so ridiculous. It's just making such a big fuss about the tiniest little like human interactions. And that's one of those things. So that's funny, but I think we're still appropriate. So Happy New Year. And
Happy
how was
New
your
Year.
New Year?
Feliz Año Nuevo. You have to be getting sick of that with me, I would imagine. So you and I had very different New Year's Eves, I guess plural. We went up to a fabulous bar in Stanley, Idaho, which is a small little town that has all dirt roads. And a friend of ours bought a bar up there called the Rod and Gun, and they completely redid it. And we have a bunch of mutual friends in common from Nashville, from my Nashville days. And we went up there and we had such an amazing time. It was like the perfect kind of New Year's where there's no pressure. You don't feel like you're, fighting the crowds, and you're not trying to impress anybody. It just was a great time and low key and really fun. And the best part is that Tripp, who owns the bar, did not care if we got glitter everywhere. And so he had to have been a couple dozen of these glitter guns or like glitter cannons, I guess I'd call them. And then I brought confetti cannons because because of my background in music, I know how much venues will you have to pay some pretty hefty cleaning fees if you do confetti or if you do, but most of the time glitter is just generally not even allowed. So I was like, okay, I'm sure I can get away with some confetti. Glitter, heck no. And then he's the one that got the confetti, or the glitter. And so at midnight, we did a countdown. Our mutual friend LB and I, we played beer. It was like a house party vibe. And so LB and I ran the beer pong table, and it was so fun. We did not lose once. That's how good we were.
That's awesome.
We did not lose once. And then, but then Tripp got me pretty good with a glitter cannon, and I was like plastered from head to toe in like multicolored glitter. So
love that.
Yeah.
What a way to ring in the new year.
What a way. Right? I know. I was pretty happy about it. Considering I had a very simple Christmas, I was very happy to have a kind of a bigger New Year and bring in 2025. How about you? How was your New Year's?
Love it. Well, thank you for the invitation to the party in Stanley, but unfortunately I just couldn't make it. Mine was pretty boring. I had a major deadline the Friday after New Year's, so I just worked 6 days in a row and worked long hours, and I made it home that night at maybe like 8 p.m. and I think made some like leftovers for dinner and was asleep by 10:30. So that was my New Year's.
Very different. But I will say that was what you needed to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had to. I would have loved to come up to Stanley, and I kept thinking maybe there's a chance I'll be in a good enough place to get this done so I can go up and enjoy it. But it just was not in the cards for me this year.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It was just, it's busy time. And, you know, my job is pretty flexible, but when I have deadlines, I have to get stuff done. So that's what it was.
Totally. No, I think that's awesome. So, I'm really happy that we both had our own individually different, but also great New Year's. Because you know what you did? You came into 2025 crushing work. That's what I have to say.
And getting rest.
And getting rest. And I did the opposite of that.
Yeah, that entire week, because my husband and daughter were still out of town because she didn't have school. So they stayed with his family for a week while I came home. And I went from the office to home and would walk my dog. And that was pretty much it. So it was a pretty low key and solitary week. But, you know, it's just sometimes you got to do that. And that's okay.
For sure.
Anyway.
Well, so tell me, what's making you emo this week? What's the latest?
So mine is a wholesome story.
Wholesome, you say?
Wholesome. So I saw this a few weeks ago on TikTok, and I kind of put it on my list of things to maybe talk about at some point. Because it was kind of a smaller trend. I have no idea if you have any idea what it is, but I was just like, it's so sweet. So an influencer on TikTok saw a guy in an old man, I should say. So the influencer, his name is Leo period introvert on TikTok. And he saw this old man sitting by himself with this hat that is like a fish protruding from the front of it. Like, it's pretty ridiculous looking. And basically went up to him and was like, hey, what's, cool hat. And the old man was like, oh, do you have 10 seconds of your time? And he stands up and he's like, my brother Bill and I started making these hats 10 years ago because 40 years ago his daughter gave him something like this for Father's Day, and then he wore it every single day. And his brother was known as Fish Hat Bill, and Bill has since passed away. But then Fish Hat Bob has taken over.
Bob and Bill
started these two brothers. So he goes by Fish Hat Bob. But this influencer, because he just happened to like approach this old man wearing this hat, and like Bob started telling him the story about these hats and how his brother's daughter had given these to him, and he wore it every year. And then they started this company, and he would wear it everywhere and carried hats with him all the time to try to sell them along with business cards. But then it blew up, of course, right? Like, it got a little traction on social media. And then now he's like months behind on orders for these ridiculous hats. And then he made his own TikTok, and he has like younger family members helping him out to record these TikToks just to be like, we're making these as fast as we can.
Oh my gosh.
It's just so cute and wholesome, like I said, and adorable. And it's just so nice when things like this happen. Like, what a sweet old man. And now he's
What's old, out of curiosity?
79.
Oh my God, so he is old.
Yeah. And it's just like so cute when things like this happen, like that you draw attention to these cute little stories, and then they blow up, and then they get all kinds of support because people go to their website. So look them up, Fish Hat Bob. These hats are ridiculous. It's literally like a fish head protruding from it's just like a baseball cap with a fish hat protruding from or a fish head protruding from the front, and then a fish tail out the back, along with some like fins and other stuff.
I feel like I saw this a while ago, and I wonder if it's been going around the internet for a minute.
It was like mid-December when I saw it, or maybe even early December. Like I said, I put it on my list of things to maybe talk about. And that's just what I was like, I have to talk about it now or else I'm never going to talk about it.
I know.
So,
Well, I'm looking at it right now. It is so ridiculous, but
yeah,
it's so cute. You're right. It's so wholesome.
it's so wholesome. So, check them out if you feel like buying one. They do have a website. Let's see. It's called bestfishhat.com is the website. And they've got different colors. They're all around $40. Oh, now he's making shirts and stickers and stuff and
Oh my
koozies. But there's a couple different hats you can buy. I guess there's a white one and a blue one, and they're $37.95.
Wow. The
Ooh, but
pricing.
you can pre-order a pink fish hat.
Oh, for the ladies who like to say.
So anyway, that's my story today. What's
Oh
making you emo?
my gosh. Well, mine shifted. So I originally was going to talk about maybe I should say what I changed it to and then I'll tell you what I was originally going to talk about. But I want to talk about both. Okay. So originally what I was going to talk about is Anne Boleyn and
Mm,
Copeland and that tour because I love Anne Boleyn, but I love Copeland even more. I've loved Anne
right.
Boleyn for a long time, and they are doing a 20-year tour. It's 20 years of In Motion and Never Take Friendship Personal.
Mm-hmm.
And In Motion, Copeland is going to perform In Motion in its entirety. And for that to happen is just such a special. I love that record so much. Did you listen to Anne
Okay.
Boleyn or Copeland?
Anne Boleyn, a lot. Yes, big fan of Anne Boleyn. Copeland, not as much, but I definitely know some of the songs.
Oh, I love Copeland. So the supporting acts they have are the Dangerous Summer, Spitalfield, and Medina Lake. And so I saw this and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. I'm so excited, whatever. I can't believe I didn't know about this sooner, actually. I kind of feel
I
like a
thought it
bit
was
of
just
a
announced.
I feel like a bit of a fraud. No, they announced it a couple months ago or like a month and a half ago.
Oh, I didn't know about
Um,
it either.
I know, and it just kind of slid by me, and I totally didn't know it, but I sent it to you, and immediately lost my mind because guess where they're playing?
In Boise.
Boise, Idaho, at Treefort Music Hall, which is super cool, and they're playing in
Yeah.
Salt Lake, and they're playing in Seattle, and so many places that are close to us. But Boise was the one that really got me.
Right, because that is very close to us. Easy to get to, easy one night trip. And I didn't realize you were such a big fan of Copeland, but
Oh,
now, yeah, we have to go.
I know that entire record front to back, every single word. Like that's
Oh,
I love that record so much. And that probably should have been my emo lyric of the day, but I also changed that because of the other thing that's making me emo this week. Um so the thing that I changed it to this week, and sorry that I'm cheating because I'm having two, but I had a chance to catch up with an old friend from college who is a music lawyer. He's also a performer, an amazing singer songwriter. His name is Ryan Schmidt, but he's now a music lawyer and he is doing all sorts of amazing things in the music industry and really kind of I guess fighting for the musician, fighting for the artist, which I think is so cool. But it had been so long since I talked to him, and that's definitely what's making me emo because it was just so dang good to see him.
yeah.
And you
How'd you guys
forget.
reconnect?
Say again.
How'd you guys reconnect?
Well, we follow each other on social media, and I feel like this is like one of those stories that everybody kind of has. But we follow each other on social media, and he's been putting out these different things, little pieces of advice for musicians or pieces of knowledge and
Hmm.
advice for musicians, for people in the entertainment industry and whatnot. I messaged him saying, dude, this is so cool. What you're doing is such a gift to anybody who is trying to make their way in music or trying to understand things a little bit better. He's just getting a ton of traction with it. And it's just so cool to see somebody doing something one that's just great for humankind, but also it's it's just awesome to see somebody from college doing really cool stuff. And I have so many friends from college who are doing amazing things. You know, I've got friends who are writing huge pop songs, and I've got friends who are, you know, managing artists or lawyers or, you know, working for one of the big record labels or working for Sirius XM or, you know, there's all sorts of different things that friends are doing. But this in particular really just caught me off guard because I didn't know that he was going into this field, and it had been long enough that we just hadn't caught up. And so to see what he's accomplished and what he's doing right now, it just kind of making me emo because it's so cool
Yeah,
to
that's
see
awesome.
friends succeeding. And then, you know, I talked to you just for a hot second about it because we want to bring him on the pod and talk to him about some you know, music industry stuff and royalties, and I don't know exactly what we'll talk to him about because there's so many topics that we could cover with him. But reconnecting with old friends, like, it kind of feels like the magic of the new year. You know what I mean?
The magic of the new year. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Yeah. And you know, with you too, I was like, I was thinking about lawyers meeting other lawyers, but in different specialties. So I thought that would kind of be fun for you as well.
Yeah. We'll see what we can relate on.
Are you an esquire?
Yes.
You're an esquire, you're an attorney, and you're a lawyer. Those all mean the same thing?
They do. In the United States, they do. In other countries, they don't necessarily all mean the same thing. But in the US,
Ooh.
they do. Yeah.
So like if I was in London, would those things mean different things?
I mean, I don't know the state of every country and their terminology, but I know that certain areas they do mean different things. One might mean a lawyer has gone to law school and graduated, but has not passed the bar. Some places use barrister a lot, and the United States doesn't use barrister at all. So it depends on where you are. But in the United States, they're all the same. It means I have gone to law school and passed the bar.
And you're a smart woman.
And I'm licensed to practice law in the state of Idaho and federal courts. So there you go. There you go. But yeah, so you have two things making you emo. I love that. Maybe you should have just taken mine instead. But we learned about Fish Hat Bob, so that's good.
We sure did learn about Fish Hat Bob.
Yeah. But let's get in. So today we were planning on talking about kind of, you know, it's the beginning of the new year, 2025, and talking about just kind of our different either resolutions or intentions or manifestations, however you want to refer to it. And I think you and I have kind of approached this maybe slightly differently. But I think maybe we just kind of go a little bit back and forth about some things that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I will say I don't really do resolutions like strictly, but I think it's helpful to kind of think about what you want to accomplish. And I know certain people are very much big believers in, you know, writing goals down, whether it's 6 months or a year or 5 years or 10 years, and actually writing it down in order to get things accomplished. But I've never really been too much of that, but you know, 'tis the season. So let's talk about some things that we want to have happen in 2025.
Yeah, and I'm with you. So I'll just, if it's okay with you, I'll kind of give my perspective from this as well. I also don't love the term resolution necessarily because I feel like it sets you up. The term resolution in my brain just sets you up for failure as soon as you write a resolution, a New Year's resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to lean towards like intentions. That's kind of my, I suppose, word. And I will share with you that when we were at the Rod and Gun on New Year's, we wrote down on wishing paper, which was gifted to me from one of our friends, Alex. It was gifted to me, these wishing papers, and what you did with them is you would write, you could kind of do it however you want, but me being an only child, I was like, I need 3 wishing papers, not just one. And so I wrote down a wish and an intention on each of them. So I did technically 6. And you're like supposed to crumple them up and kind of turn them into a cone cylinder, and then they lift up into the air.
Okay.
Now, the problem is that we were all having a little bit too much fun, so we couldn't figure out the cylinder cone situation. So we just put them into the beautiful fire that we had.
Well, that sounds lovely.
And we had a little
Do you want to
ceremonial thing. So
Are
I'm going
you
to
planning
share.
to share what you wrote on that or no? Is
Yeah.
that like a secret thing?
No, no, no. I'm a very open person, as you know, and so I'm not going to do 6 because that was a lot. But I'm going to share. I have like 3 to 4 to share,
Okay, great. Do you
depending
want
on
to
how
start?
we. I sure can. So my first one, and probably my most important one, is that this is going to be the year that I truly open myself up to love and to find my person.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And
Do you want to expand on that? Like, what do you mean by open up yourself? Because I feel like that's an interesting phrase to choose.
yeah, I think, for the last couple years, I've just kind of had my head down and I've been so focused on other things in life that I haven't allowed myself to be kind of open and receiving. And so that's where this comes from, is that I really want to make sure that I'm being conscious around making sure that I'm opening myself up, to receiving love and to finding my person.
Love that. How do you feel about people trying to set you up?
Um, I'm gonna say yes. Like, I think the 2024 version of me would be like, well, can we talk about it a little bit? But I think instead of talking about it, I think the answer is just yes. Like, why not?
Okay,
I think
great.
you have something, even if it's the worst date you've ever been on, which I've been on some doozies, but you always learn something from every date you go on.
I agree, right? And even it's just meeting people, right? It doesn't have to be anything more than that.
Yep.
And if you don't mesh with somebody, you had a conversation with somebody that is different than you, and there's no harm in that.
Yeah, I so agree. So that's my first one. How about you?
Great. Well, I'll do kind of on the same coin a little bit because my other ones are maybe a little less personal. But one of the things I wrote down was this year I've really been feeling like I want to go on a trip, and specifically like my husband Travis and I want us to go on a trip together that is for the purpose of us going on a trip together.
Just
And
the two of you.
yeah, pretty much. And that maybe sounds kind of weird, but what I'm
Not at
getting at
all.
is every time we go somewhere, it's for a wedding or it's to visit family. And I really want to go on a trip somewhere that we choose where we want to go. And I specifically wrote international. It doesn't necessarily have to be international, but I want to go somewhere new that's like a big trip.
Right.
The United States is a big country, so like it can be in the United States. But I just feel like we haven't done that in a long time, and we've been going on quite a few trips. Like the last year, we went on a lot for us, especially with a young child. But a lot of them were kind of the same old trips to see family or with friends, and it was great and fun, but I want to do something a little bit different this year. And I've been saying that to Travis now for a couple months, but have yet to decide on a time or place. So I got to start thinking about that. But I told you I've been looking for my passport because I also
Yep.
don't know where that is.
Let's hope you find, like, you got to find that first. That's
Yeah.
numero uno. Or else you're definitely staying in the United States and or Puerto Rico.
Right.
So yeah, I love that, because what I hear is that, like, you're choosing travel and choosing travel and choosing relationship, and I think that that's really important. I think that you absolutely should do that. That's an awesome
Yeah. And also,
resolution.
Reagan, our daughter, she's getting older enough now that I feel like more comfortable leaving her with some family members for, several days. So it would be nice, being a new parent is tough, and the focus is always on her, and it would be nice for us to kind of get away and focus on our relationship more. So
I love that.
I got to think of somewhere cool. If you have any suggestions, you or our listeners, let me know. But I've got to really start honing in on some options, I think.
I've got like 5 million suggestions. And my
I know.
first suggestion would be go somewhere that you can get to quickly so that you're
Yeah.
not spending a bunch of time traveling.
Right. Well, that was part of it with like the international trip. Like that's what I wrote, but depending on how much time we can really take, I don't really know that going international is going to make the most sense. But
Well,
there's so many places in the United States that would be easier to get to, that are like awesome places that neither of us have ever been. Or like I was talking to our friends about Cabo is really not that difficult to get to.
No, there's so many places in Mexico that you can get to really quickly. Same with Hawaii, same with Canada. But I feel like you guys should go warm for some reason. That's just me
Yeah, when it
projecting
also
that I want warmth.
yeah, well, it also kind of depends on the time of year, right? Like I don't really know when we're going to be able to make this happen. I don't think it's going to be in the beginning of the year. I think it's going to be summer or fall. So yeah, we just that's my manifestation or intention for the year.
I think that's going to happen, no question.
Okay, what's your next one?
Mine's a little loftier. Well, funny you say travel because my other one was travel more. So in the same line of me having my head down and just really kind of focusing, I did do a decent amount of travel. You know me, generally speaking, I'm a yes woman who likes to say yes to experiences and to things and adventures, but I want to be a little bit more thoughtful about my travel. And so it's funny that you share a similar sentiment. Mine's just from the single person angle, but so much of my travel is also around weddings and life events or different things like that. And I'm really wanting to make a point to choose some travel for myself. I also kind of want to do another solo trip. So
Yeah.
the plan is that I'm going to do a solo trip, and I think along with that is being comfortable being solo, which I'm already pretty comfortable, but there are times and I like to push myself. And I have the saying on my phone that rotates. I'm one of those girls that has quotes on her on her screensaver.
Yes,
You know
I know this.
And I have different ones. Let me see what I have right now. The one I have right now it says, if it won't matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it, which is something that rings very true for me. But I
love
have
that.
another one that says, like, do one thing every day that scares you or that pushes you. And for me, sitting with myself and kind of being with myself sometimes can be uncomfortable after a while. A lot of the times it's comfortable for me, but sometimes it makes me uncomfortable. And so that was part of it too, is the idea of a solo trip. I think is going to be healthy and will help me grow a little bit.
Love that. Do you have any specific areas that you want to do a solo trip to, or are you kind of working on that right now as well?
Well, so me, it's warmth because I want to do it sooner than later. And for me, it's warmth. And so I also don't want to go super far. So back to this whole thing, I think it's going to be Mexico and Central America.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I want to go to a few different places. That's kind of where my brain is focused right now. And I've been to Central America before, but I'd like to knock off some other countries that I haven't been to. So I probably won't go back to like Panama.
Yeah. I love that. And I think I think you're going to accomplish that quicker than my travel manifestation, but that's okay. We'll get there. Both of us, my husband and I, are very busy at work right now, and I started talking to him the other day, and it's not going to happen in the next couple of months.
Yeah. Well, and I think we all have our own busy seasons. And so maybe what will come out of my travels is that I find a place that's so amazing that you guys need to go to.
Maybe.
You never know.
Stay tuned.
Truth. What's your next one?
So my next one is, I would call, a solid manifestation. And it's to meet Tom and or Mark from Blink-182.
Oh my God. Wait, how have we not-
Yeah, exactly. So Nani and I went out to dinner. I think it was maybe a week ago today.
It was like a week ago.
Oh my gosh, I feel like a whole life has been lived since then. So we went out to dinner 1 week ago, and surprise, surprise, Mr. Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 was at the same exact restaurant as we are.
At the same exact time.
At the same exact time. And unfortunately, he was kind of in a corner, kind of like, and he was with his wife and 3 children. So it was not like a great opportunity to try to interrupt and say hello, for me at least, because I've never met him before. But Nani did say hello because you guys have met before. So I also thought this was a great opportunity for you to, say that you were able to sneak in and say hello.
Well, it was just it was so strange because I didn't even see him really. Yeah, it was odd. So our friend, again, we live in a small town, so we knew multiple people in this restaurant at the same time.
Well, you were a bigger celebrity in that restaurant than he was.
We knew a lot of people. We definitely knew a lot of people in there. It was kind of funny. And it's always nice, too, when you walk into the restaurant and the owner was like, so good to see you, and goes in to give you a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And and so I was planning on doing something with this girl who we both know who was having dinner, and I went up to her and I was talking to her and whatever, and I looked to my left and it's freaking Tom DeLonge. Yeah. And I was like, oh, hey, Tom. And then his wife was there and I was like, oh, hey, Marie. And then I had met his son and I was like, oh, hey. I'm not going to say their names just for privacy purposes. And I didn't know the other two kids. And I was like, Happy New Year. What do you guys do? It was so random. And so gave him a little half hug. And what I was most sad about is that where we were seated and where our friend was seated, and then seeing Tom, the distance was too far, and it would have been awkward for me to be like, Katie, come over here, you know? So it was great to see them and say hi and wish them a Happy New Year. Thank God it wasn't January, 12th, because it would have been far too late to wish him a Happy New Year.
Thank God, he would have gotten pissed.
And but it was a nice little treat, unexpected treat, and specialness of living in the place that we live in.
Yeah, because as we've talked about in previous episodes, but both Mark and Tom own places in the Sun Valley area, and they absolutely spend time here, especially in the winter and around Christmas, because it is a beautiful place to be at Christmas. So they were both here around the same time. And it's just, I'm getting closer and closer to actually meeting one of them.
I'm so sorry that it didn't happen then, though.
Oh, don't be sorry. No, I don't want to be the person. Part of the reason that celebrities like being here is because they're mostly left alone.
Yeah.
And people just generally don't care.
Yeah.
So I absolutely don't want to be that person that's like, oh my God. And I don't want to do that anyway. But I don't want to be the person that's interrupting their family dinner to like say hello, and it would just be like, okay, can you leave me alone, please?
Totally.
I'm sure they would be perfectly pleasant, but I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
So it's great that you were able to get a little more FaceTime, because maybe we'll be together in the future, and then it won't be like awkward for me to just try to chime in there. I want to meet one or both of them.
So yeah, what's your actual, like, what you want to meet, one or both? Is that what you wrote down?
Yeah, one or both. I mean, at least one. But if I met both of them this year, that'd be great. And I think it could happen.
I definitely think it could happen.
I got to get my head on a swivel more, because I know, like, we go to the same fitness center as Mark does. And like, I don't go there a ton.
We're all at the same places at the same time all the time. But generally, you have a child to keep track of, so you're on that kind of duty, and then I'm just kind of walking around with my head aloof. I'm just like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. That's why it was so weird. I was like, oh, hey. Oh, hi. Happy New Year.
And then he apparently broke his rib like the next day snowboarding, according to his Instagram.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's doing okay.
Yeah. I hope he's doing okay too. Broken bones don't feel great. Hey, did you hear that Sun Valley was listed by New York Times as like the number 8 place to visit in the world?
I did not.
I know. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting, and we talk about it on the pod. So, we're big in Poland, so all the Polish people are learning to come to Sun Valley.
Huge in Poland.
I'm huge in Poland. Uh, and so the word's getting out about our magical little spot that we call home.
It is.
All
All right, what's your next one?
My next one? I think this is probably my last one that I was going to share. And it's funny because you use the term head on a swivel. And that is something that I know I am like very often. I'm kind of always looking around, seeing who's around me, saying hi to people, whatever. And I think that it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. And so one of my intentions for 25 is to be present, to be more present with the people that I'm with. And I think I do an okay job of it, but I think I could do a much better job. And I think everybody could. Whether it's being pinged on your phone or seeing somebody from across the room or whatever it may be, I just want to be more present with the people that I'm with.
I love that. And I'm going to remind you of that often.
Please do.
Because I can't help but feel like part of the reason that that's your intention is because I call you out on it all the time.
No, actually not at all. It's not. And I love that you call me out on it. I want to be more present because I also don't want to be thinking about the future or the past too.
Right.
It's really hard for me to not be thinking about what's coming and, because that's also just in the nature of what I do for a living. And thinking about the past is not something I do a lot, but there's definitely pieces of me that do that from time to time. And so, yeah, being present is very difficult for me. And so I want to be better at it.
Okay. Great. I mean, now I'm wondering if there's a certain phrase that I should use so it signals you hey, I'm here. Pay attention to me. Because I know there's several times that you get a text on your phone and then you're just gone mentally. And I'm just like, come back. Hi.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too, though, is sometimes that's the case, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm reading and I'm still fully present and I know exactly what's going on around me, but my eyes go in a different place and that doesn't make the people that I'm with feel good.
Yeah.
And so
but, I mean, that part is totally normal. People do that all the time.
Yeah, I guess
there's a balance and there's just, I appreciate that that's the intention because it definitely can feel, I think everybody's been on both sides of it, right? But it can, when you're having a conversation with somebody and then just all of a sudden they're out of the conversation, it definitely feels rude and it's not fun to be on that side of it. So
maybe that's the word. Maybe you just say rude.
Okay, I can do that. I like that. Rude. And then you'll know.
Oh, I'll definitely know. You're going to tell me in 2 ways.
And then our listeners that are good friends of ours are going to be doing the same thing.
Okay. That sounds scary. That sounds really scary for me.
Well, I kind of have 2 more, but they're quick. So I think I'll go through those if that's okay, because I think we've got some time.
Yeah.
And I guess I haven't totally fine-tuned this one, but kind of part of it's kind of piggybacking off of the travel, but I would like to go to more live emo shows or pop punk shows this year because
with me?
Kind of, yeah, of course. And with whoever else wants to go, but probably just you. I would guess. And
Can we go to Anne Berlin and Copeland?
Anne Berlin could be a great start to that. It's just, we've gone to Blink-182 the past couple of years, and that's been so much fun. It's just that we live in a town where those types of shows don't come very close to us, and it's hard to justify. A lot of those shows don't even come to Boise, honestly, which is why it's so exciting that Anne Berlin is coming to Boise.
Right.
And Copeland, too, I should say. But I'm a bigger Anne Berlin fan, so that's why I keep saying that.
You're going to turn into the biggest Copeland fan? I can't wait.
I mean, that album, In Motion, I've listened to it in full multiple times. I know that I have. But they were not a band that I got super, super into. So I would like to do some more of that. It's just hard sometimes to justify traveling to Salt Lake or Denver or Seattle or whatever to go to those shows when, I have a limited amount of time off. There's all these other things that I have to go to, and I have a daughter, and there's just so much to juggle. But it's really so much fun, and there's so many good and nostalgic tours happening that I really would like to do more of that. And part of it is, Warped Tour or When We Were Young, maybe. We've talked about how festivals are maybe not the most appealing to us, but like I kind of feel like we have to go to Warped Tour.
I feel like we should go to one of them. And I also think it'd be fun because I think we could meet people and interview people for the podcast and, spread the good cheer around the Emo Hour.
Yes. So that was the other one that I wrote down. And then the last one that I wrote down is related to our podcast and having success in the podcast. So I wrote down monetize it, which would be cool.
That would be fantastic.
And more followers on Instagram. And the number that I wrote.
What about TikTok?
And TikTok. Yes, 1,000 followers at least on each platform.
I think that's very doable.
I think so too. And we're going to figure out the video implementation soon, and then we can make short clips, and I think that'll be super helpful. But I just wrote those down, and, I want to manifest that for us as well.
So that was going to be kind of my final one as it relates to this. Because I would say the other ones were like pretty deeply personal to me, and then the one that I wanted to say jointly is around the success of this, because I know how much fun that we have both been having doing this and how it just comes really naturally to both of us, and we learned this through our radio show, and it's just been so fun doing, and I feel like the maybe intention for me personally around it is giving some more energy to help grow those followers on Instagram and on TikTok and all that good stuff.
Yes, I love that.
And learning new technologies.
Which we have already done. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I think it probably is time for Emo Lyric of the Day. How do you feel?
Emo Lyric of the Day. Well, now I feel like I should have looked at Anne Boleyn songs because we talked about it so much, but I didn't.
I feel like I should have done a Copeland song as well, but because of what was making me emo, I changed everything because I wanted to highlight a new artist that I learned about, and I thought it made sense for me to do it. So maybe I should go first, because this lyric that I chose is by an artist from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the artist is Petty Hendrix. And
I've never heard of that artist.
Exactly. So he's signed to Joel and Benji Madden's record label.
Okay.
And
from Good Charlotte.
From Good Charlotte.
Who
Thank
do not
you.
know.
Thank
they
you.
are identical twins.
They
Which
okay, now you have to give color to this.
One of our first radio shows that we did, we talked about Good Charlotte, who has twin men in Good Charlotte, and we were talking about them, Benji and Joel Madden. And I think I said, I don't know if they're identical or fraternal. And you said, well, they're identical. Or I don't know exactly how the exchange happened, but you said, well, they're identical because they're both men. And I was like, no, not necessarily. And then you just proceeded to get like hazed by your dad and our friends because you didn't know that same-sex twins could be fraternal.
I didn't, but now I know. I mean, we were going to do like our biggest learning of 2024 on this episode too. Maybe that was my biggest learning of 2024 is that I learned about twins.
Maybe you learned that.
And that there's no avocado in the pit of an avocado.
Oh, you've learned so much in 2024.
So much. I've also learned that I'm maybe a little bit more gullible than I realized.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Or that I'm willing to admit.
It's okay. But Benji and Joel are identical because I wouldn't have guessed that just based on seeing them. But we looked it up and they are identical twins. They just had a very different look back in the day.
Yeah. One's married to Cameron Diaz. The other's married to Nicole
Richie. Wild, right?
Yeah. And they're all like besties with Hilary Duff.
Yeah. So weird.
And Hilary Duff's husband is this guy from a band called Winnetka Bowling League, who I love so much. And I got to see in Boise. I wish you would have come with me on that one. Okay, so this is Petty Hendrix, and Petty Hendrix is I love the name because it reminds you of Tom Petty and Jimi Hendrix, right? At least in my brain it did. But it's not, it's Petti. And I don't know if there's any meaning behind the name. I haven't dug that deep yet, but I'm really digging his vibe. So he raps, but he also sings. The music definitely has emo roots and rock roots in it. So I hope that the listeners take a listen to it. But the reason I chose this lyric is because I feel like it really aligns itself nicely to my intentions for 2025. And it's from his song Be Okay. And in this song, Good Charlotte is actually featured, which makes sense because he's signed to their record label. And there's a few other people who are featured on this record as well. And I don't remember who it is, so I apologize for that. But it's from the song Be Okay. And it's just 2 lines. And it says, I want to feel the rush. I want to feel alive. And that is how I feel about 2025.
I love that. That's perfect. I want to feel the rush. I want to feel alive. Right?
Yep. You got it.
Okay. I like it. I'll have to listen to that song. Because I've never even heard of that artist, like I said.
Yeah, and all of everything that I've listened to so far of his has been really cool. It has its own vibe for sure. I don't have the exact words to explain his music. I just think it's really interesting and it's very thoughtful and it's really well produced music. There's a lot of depth to it.
Great.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I was considering changing my lyric to Anne Boleyn just based on our conversation, but I think I'm going to save that for another day. And maybe we'll do that after we see them in March.
Hell yeah.
So I chose a song from a band that I had never heard of until our radio show, actually, and our friend Alex recommended it. The band is called Rain City Drive, Talk to a Friend. And we did this, the song is called Talk to a Friend. We did this as an emo lyric of the day on the radio show, but it's just such a good one. I felt like we had to put it on the podcast as well. So thanks to our friend Alex for this one. And it kind of is in line with what was making me emo last week, just that it's a hard time of year and be easy on yourself because it's a hard time of year. So the lyric is, I wouldn't talk to a friend like I talk to myself. The voice in my head really needs some help, which is emo as shit.
It's so emo, but it's also such a great message.
Yes.
I love that so much. And I think that that's a really beautiful sentiment to go into 2025 with. And I think, I think that you talked about this on the last podcast, or maybe it was the one before, but like, just be kind to yourself. This is that actually, you know what? I just need to say this really quickly. And when we were up at Rod and Gun, the owner, he had a little speech right before the clock hit midnight, and it was such a beautiful speech, and I wish I could remember it verbatim, but essentially he was saying, be kind to one another, and he said, but specifically the hardest person to be kind to is yourself. And so I wish all of you kindness towards yourselves in 2025. And I just thought it was just the best and most thoughtful thing to say and share with one another. And that's what I wish for you and what I wish for anybody listening to our podcast, because we got to be kind to ourselves.
We do. And I think that's a great way to end.
I think so too.
We're just looking forward to 2025. Be easy on yourself and be present and focus on yourself and what you need to make yourself happy, to feel alive.
Yes.
To go to your lyric.
And feel the rush.
Feel the rush.
And so you know what? The way I'd like to close out this, because I won't be able to say it for another year. Happy New Year.
Wait, in Spanish, please?
Oh, Feliz Año Nuevo.
Okay, thank you. All right. Happy New Year. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Instagram at the Emo Hour and TikTok. And we'll see you next week.